Tonight, FCT area council elections hold amid complaints over late commencement and poor performance of the bimodal voter accreditation system. Yet another building collapses in Lagos. 2 bodies recovered as 2 construction workers are rescued from the rubble of a 3-story structure. National Assembly Joint Committee on Aviation calls for total overhaul of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, says the facility is critical to nation's air travel. And more countries ask their citizens to leave Ukraine as Western powers warn that an invasion by Russia could be imminent.
On business news tonight, Nigeria Export Promotion Council announces plans to establish domestic export warehouse in inland dry ports.
On sports news tonight, Ethiopian Deresa Galata wins the 2022 Lagos City Marathon as East African runners dominate the 42-kilometer silver label race.
We begin with electoral matters as voters in the Federal Capital Territory turned out to vote for their candidates earlier today as the Independent National Electoral Commission conducts chairmanship and councillorship elections across the 6 area councils of the FCT. There were, however, some challenges with the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, which slowed down voting process in many polling units, giving voters a cause for concern. The situation, which led to late commencement of voting in many polling units, led to an extension of voting time to 6 p.m. in those areas.
It is election day in the Federal Capital Territory as residents go to the polls to elect chairmen and councillors for the 6 area councils. 6 council chairmen and 62 councillors are expected to emerge from the process, as 14 political parties and 472 candidates jostle for the votes of the 1,373,000 registered voters expected to participate in the exercise. In most polling units in Kuje, Buari and the Abuja Municipal Area Council, AMAC INEC officials arrive early with voting materials, but voting, which was scheduled to commence at 8 a.m., did not start due to some accreditation challenges.
Over thousands of people are here since morning, since 8 o'clock, waiting. But now, up to now, VUBA has not even catch up to even 200. If they are not prepared, why putting the date today and bringing materials that are not working, beavers or whatever they call it, have not been used before, and people will be seeing their name in the paper. If you have seen your name, why not go and vote? They say you must be captured, and the machine is not working.
I understand this situation is not only here in Kuje, it's across the entire FCT. So one begins to wonder whether it is deliberate or it is just a situation whereby the machine has become faulty. But so far, it's very peaceful. Nobody is fighting the other. That's one good thing about it. So now the problem is that of INEC now.
Notwithstanding the challenges, some of the key players in this election appeal to voters to be patient and peaceful.
There's an adage that said the patient don't eat the fattest bone. In everything in life you want to succeed, we have to be patient. So I strongly advise the voters to be patient so that they will exercise their rights to vote for the candidate of their choice.
I am here to say to all voters who have come out to vote for their candidates of their choice that let there be peaceful election, free and fair elections.
At polling unit 001 in front of the headquarters of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, in Buari Area Council, voters wait under the scorching sun to cast their votes.
I can't vote. What is the problem? They're telling me that the machine is not working. You keep asking them, they're telling you that they are working on it, their technical team is working on it. Is it that they cannot make replacement if it's not working? I don't understand. So many people have been here since the morning.
For somebody to sacrifice his or her time to come out here, how about they should be fair now? They should bring something that will help people. Okay, imagine the hot weather, we are still under it. Some people will come, some will go, some will come, some will go, which is very annoying.
At AMAC, polling unit 036 Gariki, erroneously received materials for polling unit 037 Gariki, which prompted an initial agitation from the voters. Meanwhile, it was a peaceful process in most polling units in Kuje, Buari and Amak, including polling unit 027, where the Gariki traditional ruler cast his vote.
Within a minute or 2 minutes, I have been able to be captured and have been able to go and vote the persons I want, which I have to say is a kudos to INEC.
The initial glitches recorded with the BVAS machines led to the extension of voting in most of the polling units across the 6 area councils. However, voting ended in some polling units at 4 p.m. as INEC officials count the ballots before the electorate. There are 68 constituencies made up of 6 area council chairmen and 62 councillors. A total of 14 out of 18 registered political parties nominated 110 candidates for chairmanship and vice chairmanship positions, while 362 candidates jostled for councillorship.
Meanwhile, Election Monitoring Group, Yaga Africa, has given its preliminary report on the FCT council elections, reiterating late commencement of polls, poor functionality of the BVAS machines, communication glitches, among other operational deficiencies as issues that characterize the process. The Executive Director of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo, attributes the late opening of polling stations to poor logistics and security problems, calling for the review of the voter registers as well as a BVAS technology.
The operational deficiencies noted in this election provide a compelling need for a comprehensive audit of the voters register, the BVAS technology, election logistics, and the distribution of voters to polling units. INEC officials should act with utmost sense of integrity and transparency and professionalism in the collation and the declaration of results. Fourth, to the security agencies, we urge that the security agencies ensure that officers deployed for this election act with utmost professionalism and they stay or remain impartial throughout the conduct of these elections. We call on all those participating in the process, especially the voters, not to be deterred by the challenges, but rather remain patient as they continue to cast their vote and monitor this process to its logical conclusion. We call on all citizens, political parties and candidates, and INEC and the security agencies to continue to maintain professionalism with a high sense of integrity in managing all parts of this process in a bid to ensure a peaceful and a credible and inclusive, conclusive elections.
Now, while the FCT is rounding off today's local election, Enugu State is counting down to its own LG poll on February the 23rd. And the governor of the state, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, is calling on the people to vote massively for the People's Democratic Party. He was speaking during the official flag-off of the campaign for the council election, which held at the headquarters of Isiuzo local government area. The governor gave the assurance that, if elected, the candidates will keep with the party's tradition of service to humanity.
It's the official flag-off of the 2022 chairmanship and councillorship campaign of the People's Democratic Party, and Isiuzo local government area headquarters is playing the host. The arena is filled with PDP officials and party supporters bearing the images of their candidates across the 17 local government areas of Enugu State. Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi arrives at the venue to officially flag off the campaign and is received by top party members and a cheering crowd. The business of the day is to woo the crowd to vote massively for the party, and the former governor of the state explains why this must be taken seriously.
Liberating interests, taking advantages of personal commitment for total advancement of the whole, for common good and service.
Others advise aspirants on getting set for the task ahead.
We say that God will guide you and give you enablement not only to win the election that is going to come, but to do well in office. So that the confidence that has reposed on you, you will justify it and vindicate it, and from there you move higher and higher. Through the Lord Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Governor Ogwaye is confident that candidates of the PDP serve transparently and ensure accountability if elected.
I present to you the party flag bearers for the council chairmanship election in the 17 local government areas of the state. Persons who have been found worthy and capable of superintending the affairs of the local government council by the party in their respective local government areas. I passionately plead with you to massively support these candidates in the 23rd February 2022 local government council election, chairmanship election in the 17 local government areas of the state. I assure you that these candidates, if elected by you, shall serve you with the fear of God and in your best interest, consistent with the PDP tradition.
He then hands flags to the 17 local government chairmanship candidates and their deputies before presenting them to the people who will decide their fate come February 23rd.
And out of security, a police patrol team in Katsina State has repelled a planned attack on Nasarawa-Bugaje village in Jibia local government area as the terrorists fled on sighting the security men, abandoning their motorcycles in the process. The police were able to stop the attack following a distress call received late in the afternoon on Friday that terrorists had stormed the village on motorcycles, shooting with AK-47 rifles and rustling a large number of domestic animals. A statement by the spokesman of the Katsina State Police Command, Gambo Issa, says the police patrol team led by its anti-kidnapping unit was dispatched to the scene and engaged the criminals in a gun battle, forcing them to retreat. The team also recovered 200 cows and 150 sheep. We're watching the scene of a building collapse in the Yaba area of Lagos State, where efforts are ongoing to rescue those believed to be trapped in the three-story structure that came down today. The building, which was under construction at number 16 Akombi Crescent, trapped at least 5 of the construction workers, 2 of whom have been rescued, while 2 bodies have been recovered. Emergency workers, as well as sympathizers, are still at the scene of the disaster as rescue operations continue. Southwest Coordinator of NEMA, Ibrahim Fariloye, spoke to us on the rescue efforts.
We are focusing on the particular spot where it was alleged that people are trapped. We are working towards that place, and in the next few minutes we should be able to access the place. So far, before our arrival, about 2 people have been said to have been rescued. But we saw some of the residents who said at least about 5 people were trapped. Additional 1 more body has just been recovered, making 2 dead bodies recovered and 2 people rescued alive. Possibly we are looking at 2 more bodies still trapped in between the rubble there. So we are working towards recovery or rescuing the last 2 people that are said to be trapped there, either 5 or 4. So that's what we are being told now. But we are working towards recovering or rescuing the 2 of them now.
In part 2 after the break, Governor Wike vows that fight against illegal oil bunkering in River State will continue, says health implications of the activities of the people cannot be ignored. Join us again. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. FCT area council elections hold amid complaints over late commencement and poor performance of the bimodal voter accreditation system. Yet another building collapses in Lagos. 2 bodies recovered as 2 construction workers are rescued from the rubble of a 3-story structure. National Assembly Joint Committee on Aviation calls for total overhaul of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, says the facility is critical to the nation's air travel. More countries ask their citizens to leave Ukraine as Western powers warn that an invasion by Russia could be imminent. A total overhaul. Well, that's what the Murtala Mohammed International Airport needs in view of the significant place it occupies in air travel in Nigeria. This is part of a submission by the leadership of the National Assembly Joint Committee on Aviation during its oversight visit and interactive session with the management of Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, in Lagos. Our correspondent, Chris Elens, reports.
It's an oversight visit by the Joint Committee on Aviation to the Lagos airports. The essence is to gather information that would help them come up with measures and policies that would impact airport operations in a country which have been badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. The members are concerned about the state of the airport facilities, including some of the new and unused projects, security, concessions, debts, and a lot more.
Of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
During an interactive session, the Managing Director of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria expresses delight over the committee's visit as it affords the agency the opportunity to improve on its operations.
The effort of the committee in considering the repealing of the existing Aviation Agencies Act and enacting a new one, including that of FAN, is highly commendable and stands as a major milestone in the history of this administration.
The Chairman, Senate Committee on Aviation, Senator Smart Adeyemi, is first to respond. While he wants the Airports Authority to do more to keep facilities functioning optimally, he adds that the Murtala Mohammed International Airport deserves better treatment.
This airport is a town of its own, and it will not be enough to assume that having 1,500 men will be enough to police this airport. We must be looking at improving and expanding by using modern-day facilities to make sure that we secure the airport.
His points are corroborated by the Chairman, House Committee on Aviation, Honorable Nolim Nnaji, who notes that the House and Senate have already passed some important bills in order to reposition the aviation sector.
The way an airport looks determines how much you will invest in the country. It's very, very key. That's what we're talking about. Most businessmen come into Abuja Lagos Airport. That's why it's important that we move to the international terminal of Lagos, the new one, and start developing. Even if it means demolishing this place, we demolish it and do a new one, because Lagos is key to aviation development in Nigeria.
With the visit over, further recommendations by the Joint Committee are expected in the coming days, which hopefully should lead to improvement in the condition of our airports. Chris Elens, Channels Television News.
And to River State, where Governor Nyesom Wike seems not to be backing down on his administration's fight against oil bunkering, which he says is taking a huge toll on people's health. In a meeting with heads of security agencies and council chairmen who had been charged to fish out illegal activities, Governor Wike encouraged them to step up the campaign against oil theft and the operation of illegal refineries in the state. He also announced a review of the financial grants to boost the fight, with approval now given for only 5 councils.
This is not about party. It's about Nigeria. It's about making sure that this country survives. And then also the health factor. It is not written in anybody's fate who it will affect more. Even as a governor, I have my own parents alive. So you never can tell. Even security agencies, you never can tell who it is. I mean, nobody knows. All the kind of ailments we get, you never can know the source of it. But this one, experts have said, this can lead to cancer and the rest of it. So let's take this war as a war
that we must save our people and we must save the nation. So I commend you so far for the efforts, but we must redouble our efforts and not to give any chances to these armed robbers they call bunkers. As far as I'm concerned, they're even worse than armed robbers. A sabotage of the national economy is worse than armed robber. So we must not give any gap. So that there must be the need to collaborate with all the local governments and communities so that people will understand that it is not everything you do, you must go free. No. Enough is enough.
Into health matters, a cure for one of the most commonly inherited disorders in the world, sickle cell disease, can now be accessed in Nigeria. Well, 2 out of every 100 babies in the country are born with the disorder. But with a newly installed bone marrow transplant equipment, many of these babies can go on to live healthy lives. Our correspondent, Mary Alala Yusuf, has more.
Sickle cell disorder occurs when two people, each with at least one S in the genotype, have offspring with the SS genotype. The sickle-shaped blood cell is unable to carry as much oxygen as the normal cell and is less able to pass through blood vessels, blocking them and causing obstruction of oxygen supply to organs in the body. This results in complications.
Some of them have the leg ulcer, enlarged spleen. The stroke comes between the ages of 2 to 16 years.
With approximately 150,000 children born with sickle cell disorder annually, 3/4 of Africa's sickle cell burden is in Nigeria. When discovered, management includes regular transcranial Doppler tests to assess the probability of stroke, which a blood transfusion can prevent. Treatment of leg ulcers, which suddenly occur, to prevent infection, and regular medication to prevent debilitating pains called crises. The result is a lifetime of missed school, job losses, sick days, and a lot of money expended.
At first, I was learning shoemaking, but I could not go further because of the leg ulcer. I went back to Computer Village where I was learning computer engineering, hardware to be precise. We do repairs and sales. Then it came back again. I was told that the stress is also affecting it, so I had to stop work again, and since then I've been depending on friends and family for daily needs.
But without management, many don't make it to their 5th birthday. The bone marrow transplantation the Sickle Cell Foundation is offering in partnership with the Lagos University Teaching Hospital comes as an answer to the most severe of these cases.
How do you determine who is going to serve as a donor for the affected child? The best way of determining it is by doing a test called HLA typing.
The donor is under anesthesia. The experts collect the marrow with the needle and syringe, and they harvest it, bag it, and infuse it into the patient like you do blood transfusion. The patient begins to produce normal red blood cells, no longer sickled red blood cells. So the patient is cured.
Apart from being in familiar surroundings with a family support system, a lot can be gained from getting the transplant in Nigeria.
If you want to go and do a bone marrow transplant in US now, you should be looking for $300,000 to $500,000 US. When you are looking for 500 million naira and you are going to look for 8 million, 11 million, you can see that the difference is, it's huge.
That's without adding the cost of travel and hotel accommodation for patient, donor, and caregiver.
So at that time, the patient must be in those box rooms. We call them box rooms, isolated completely. Anybody who accesses the room must be properly gowned and robed and free of infection.
Mohammed Kudu Mohammed received his bone marrow transplant in 2014 in Italy. Now, at 16, life is different.
I haven't had any issue that would require me to come to the Sickle Cell Foundation since that time. At that time, I couldn't play football, I couldn't jog, I couldn't interact with my friends very well at that time. But now, I can do all those things perfectly. I go on long jogs on Saturdays, and I'm able to play football on Wednesdays and Fridays.
The Bone Marrow Transplant Center, located in the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, is starting small with children between ages 5 and 17.
Our first field bone marrow transplant is going to be done with the presence of our technical partners working with us for hand-on-hand technology transfer.
The plan is for this center to become a training platform for the whole of West and Central Africa, and for centers to be replicated across Nigeria and the continent. The bone marrow transplant equipment is also useful for other diseases requiring exchange blood transfusion or blood product harvesting, like cancer. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
A huge ray of hope. Well, staying with the health sector, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, Dr. Ibrahim Oloriegbe, says the Senate is making plans to amend the National Health Act to ensure that all Nigerians are enrolled under a particular health insurance scheme. Dr. Oloriegbe made this known at the Healthcare Federation of Nigeria stakeholders meeting in Lagos.
In the last 2 years, the healthcare sector has been the center of attention as a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the upgrade and increase in health infrastructure in the country, the sector is still far from being able to meet the people's healthcare needs.
We have about 13 different groups.
A reason why the Healthcare Federation of Nigeria gathered stakeholders in the health sector to discuss how to reduce medical tourism and provide quality healthcare for the people.
The question, therefore, is how do we build trust in our healthcare industry and ensure that a lot of all these money that travels out, as well as a lot of our staff that leave Nigeria to look for greener pastures abroad, stay at home. There needs to be a federal structure with the responsibility of making sure healthcare as provided by our Nigerian doctors and hospitals is fit for purpose.
The syntax is something that we actually support and that we need to go through, but with a caveat. The caveat is that the money raised for this needs to be spent in healthcare.
The chairman, Senate Committee on Health, is also on the same page. He says the Senate is working towards achieving health insurance for all citizens.
We are amending the National Health Act. The second one, which is the major, what I would call our reform action so far, is the National Health Insurance Act. We started with National Health Insurance Commission, but it's now National Health Insurance Authority. What we did in that particular bill was to make health insurance mandatory in the country, in which case everybody that lives in Nigeria, once you're a resident in Nigeria, you must have one form of insurance or the other to access health care.
Deliberations reached at this meeting reveals this is one step geared towards attaining the next level in the nation's health sector.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Lagos State sets completion date for Lagos-Badagry expressway. Plus, Nigeria Export Promotion Council announces plans to establish domestic export warehouse in inland dry ports. That's on Business News. To stay with us. Four police officers have been reportedly killed at another checkpoint on the outskirts of the Enugu state capital. Reports say the gunmen who operated in Sienna and Lexus Jeep attacked the checkpoint located at Obiagu in Enugu South local government area, killing at least 4 officers. Eyewitnesses say today's incident occurred around 3:45 p.m. and left motorists and residents living along the ever-busy roads scampering for safety and abandoning their vehicles. Channels Television is still unable to get an official statement from the State Police Command as the spokesman, Daniel Ndukwe, could not be reached for a reaction. The attack comes 48 hours after 4 policemen were killed in the capital city. And to infrastructure, the Lagos State government is assuring residents that the Lagos-Badagry expressway will be delivered before the end of this year. Well, this is coming from the special advisor to Governor Sanwo-Olu on works and infrastructure, Aramide Adeoye, while inspecting the level of work done on the stretch of road. She also appeals to the people to stop abusing public infrastructure.
For over 10 years, the Lagos-Badagry expressway has been under construction, causing some form of hardship for motorists and other road users. The intervention of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu since 2019 has led to the completion of some sections of the 10-lane double carriageway. Eric Moore to Mazamaza completed. Mazamaza to Trade Fair also completed. The road project also has 3 interchange bridges. Casting of Trade Fair and Alaba interchanges has been completed, while that of Iyanoiba is ongoing. A concrete pump discharging concrete to level the reinforcement bars for the Iyanoiba bridge interchange. Site workers are moving very fast to meet the deadline. While motorists share their concern about the project, traders in the area applaud the state government for coming to their rescue.
I want the federal government to push those Agbero. Police service too much, that's my road. Police, custom, everybody. You understand? Please, because the road, please, make them do the road sharp, because our motor, she used to spoil every day.
What they are doing is well done for Lagos State. For we at Ojo here, Koko side, going to Agbara, so they are trying their best.
The special advisor to Governor Sanwo-Olu on works and infrastructure is on site and says the project will be completed before the end of 2022.
From Erikmo, motorists should be able to go from Erikmo to Okoko, a kilometer to Okokomaiko on the Badagry bound side. And on the Lagos bound side, they should be able to drive through the whole lot by June on the service lanes. In the inner lanes, they will still be working on the inner lanes. So at least the service lanes will be through to Okokomaiko while rounding up works on the inner lane. So I would say on the lot 1, it's 100% completed. On the lot 2, which is in 3 segments, the first segment is also about 100% completed. The second segment is about 85% completed, and the third segment is about 65% completed. With this casting, of course, that will shoot your percentage to maybe about 70%. So the remaining 30% in segment 3 are those ancillary works, the road furnishes, the BRT bus depot, the hospitals that you do, which are things that could go on, but motorists can use the roadway. So we're on course.
The Lagos-Badagry Expressway is one of the projects that residents look forward to its delivery date. When completed, it's expected to improve the travel time from Lagos to Seme border, leading to Benin Republic.
Learn to separate official duties from politics. Well, that's a piece of advice from Governor Samuel Otom to the Nigerian Air Force personnel attached to the Tactical Air Command in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. According to the governor, the Air Force personnel today barred him from accessing the flight line, where he was officially invited to welcome the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who was in transit to Okari in Taraba State. Addressing journalists at the government house after the incident, Governor Otom, who displayed the letter inviting him for the reception, vowed to report the matter to the Vice President.
How can you bounce a governor in a state where you are? So what is the meaning of that? I feel so pain, and I'm going to report this to the Vice President. Well, if they choose to do something, fine. If they don't, it is okay. Have I insulted the President? Have I insulted the Vice President? All that I'm saying is that let the right thing be done. Let there be justice, equity, and fairness. It is unfortunate. I will report this breach to the Vice President because it was protocol for me to have gone to receive him and then see him off and receive him to come back. It's really unfortunate. I feel very sorry. And those who are keeping quiet, I tell them, one day they will not be where they are.
Elsewhere, people living with leprosy in the nation's capital, Abuja, are voicing their concern over poor living condition and the lack of attention by the government to their plight. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, who visited the colony located in Kwali Area Council of the FCT, reports that the community lacks basic amenities for good living.
About 35 kilometers from the city center, Alheri Special Community is located at Yangoji in Kwali Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. The inhabitants of the community are mostly people affected with leprosy. On arrival, we are received by the head of the community, 65-year-old Isa Ali, popularly called Sarki amongst his subjects. Is the oldest and one of those that started Alheri Special Community.
Over 90 of us, including women and children, were brought here. Every male adult was given 2 flats with kitchen. At that time, we also used to get some financial assistance from the government. I used to receive 6,000 naira, while my other colleagues were given 4,000 naira each. But that has stopped now.
Many of the people here have lost their limbs, and so fending for themselves becomes a big challenge as hunger stares them in the face. Inadequate basic amenities is another challenge in Alheri community. The only healthcare center in the community is ill-equipped to cater for their peculiar health needs.
We don't have drugs, we don't have any attention. He writes a paper to you to say make you go and chemist to buy or go to quality primary health care.
Pregnant women are at the risk of losing their lives, not being able to access healthcare services when they need it.
Truly, women in this community are suffering. We need our healthcare center to be equipped, and we want the government to also post professional doctors to the center.
In the area of education, there are only 2 blocks of 6 classrooms which cater for just the basic levels of education. Many of the children in Alheri community are not able to go beyond junior secondary school as their parents cannot afford to send them to other schools. The World Health Organization reported that more than 200,000 people were infected with leprosy globally in 2016 alone. And according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, over 3,500 people get infected with the disease every year in Nigeria, with about 25% of them going on to develop physical disabilities. Dr. Sunday Udo is a medical practitioner, and he believes the situation could even be worse.
Every day, before the day runs out, 5 new persons will get leprosy in this country. And among those 5 persons, children less than 15 are part of them.
However, he says although leprosy is infectious, it is not transmissible through personal contact with people infected.
Leprosy is not sexually transmitted. Leprosy is not hereditary. So it means a mother who has leprosy cannot transmit leprosy in the womb to the child.
Efforts to get the government's view on the situation at Alheri community proves abortive, as the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Disability Matters, Mr. Samuel Ankeli, would not grant us an interview. For now, the residents of Alheri community only hope for a day when their plight will receive the attention of the government. This young generation of inhabitants of Alheri community have hopes that someday they would become people that would be reckoned with in the society. But that depends on how much opportunities the government is willing to extend to them, especially in the area of quality education and quality healthcare services. From Alheri community in Kwali Area Council of Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Touching story indeed. Now to some company news. Customer first is the watchword for one of Africa's biggest financial institutions, United Bank for Africa, UBA, and its group chairman, Mr. Tony Elumelu, is promising better services and more commitments to its team and customers across the world. Mr. Elumelu made this pledge at the UBA Group Chairman's Forum, which was held in Abuja. The Vice Chairman, or the Vice President, as you say, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who was a special guest at the forum, highlights the challenges and opportunities that abound for financial institutions such as UBA in the digital space.
The United Bank for Africa Chairman's Forum is a summit where strategizing is the order of the day. According to the group's chairman, Mr. Tony Elumelu, this year, the bank is taking part in the global conversation about energy transition.
For UBA, our commitment to ESG, our commitment to this energy transition is wonderful. But as Africans, we believe that this energy transition should be done in a way and manner that's equitable and fair, especially given the fact that carbon emission in Africa is sub 2%. In fact, in some data, is even sub 1%.
Top executives of UBA and government officials were treated to dinner and live band entertainment at the very exclusive event. The special guest at the occasion is the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. He speaks on digitization in Nigeria, the country's climate change goals for 2060, and Africa's peculiar challenge as it tries to meet up its international commitments.
If the wealthier countries are prepared to ban fossil fuel investments, they've got to give us room to be able to continue to use our fossil fuels, obviously for a much longer period, to allow energy access for our people, and also to allow us to transit from pollutants to cleaner fuels.
The United Bank for Africa's Group Managing Director and Group CEO, Mr. Kennedy Uzoka, reassures customers and shareholders of the bank's readiness to handle any challenge that comes its way, as it has done in its 73-year history.
As you know, we are the only bank out of sub-Saharan Africa that has a deposit-taking license in the United States. No one else has that. So we have very robust policies, especially for business continuity. We make sure that our customers continue to be served, and if you check the statistics in the geographies we operate in, UBA infrastructure was running 24/7. So we were well prepared, well ahead of this, and we are always prepared.
With 23 subsidiaries, which include those in the United States, the United Kingdom, with another coming up very soon in the United Arab Emirates, and 73 years of excellent service, the United Bank for Africa brand says it is delivering on its promise of keeping its customers first.
More customers first, more business stories next with Teniola Shaboali.
Thanks a lot, Kayode. In a bid to ease the challenges Nigerian exporters face in sending their goods out of the country, the Nigeria Export Promotion Council, NEPC, has announced plans to establish a domestic export warehouse in inland dry ports. The executive director of NEPC, Mr. Ezra Yakuzak, who was speaking at a meeting with operators of the domestic export warehouse in Abuja, explains that the scheme would help solve storage and supply chain challenges and will reduce the heavy gridlock at the Apapa port.
This is a national function.
The Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Export Promotion Council is meeting with operators of domestic export warehouses. The meeting comes a few weeks after the Presidential Enabling Business Environment had identified 5 key areas of reforms as it commences the implementation of its National Action Plan to ease business operations in the country. The key areas identified include trade, port reforms, automation reform, regulatory and legislative reforms. Representatives of the domestic export warehouse operators shared their thoughts on how the plan will ensure prompt export of products from the nation's ports to other parts of the world.
We have a lot of scenarios that some people want to export for 3-4 months. There are goods within the port. By the time it is ready to bench, you find out that they've lost their quality more than 50%. But with these new operators on board across the geopolitical zone, and I even like the MD is trying to establish some across the border in Niger Republic.
A major objective of the domestic warehouse is to get an early approval of all export goods at the nation's ports, which is expected to increase foreign exchange earnings for the nation.
There's a shelf life for every good. If a good meant for export is there in a vehicle for 1, 2, 3 weeks or even 1 month, you don't expect that goods to be the same at the end of the day. So that's why we have cases of rejects. And of course, in some instances, in export contract, time is of the essence. Once you sign a contract, the importer there doesn't want to know what is wrong with your country, and there's no sympathy about this. So once you sign that contract and there's a time lapse, the contract may be cancelled or terminated. So and it has affected our exports, our non-oil exports, and of course we realize that we're losing the foreign exchange by the day, and of course we need it now. So that's why we introduced that due concept.
When fully implemented, the domestic export warehouse is expected to reduce the cost of doing business in the country, stimulate export businesses, increase market shares of local products, attract investments, and above all, be a game changer in the export sector.
Trading activity at the FMDQ exchange closed negative this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets fell by 6.68% to $589.19 million as at February the 11th. A further analysis of trading results shows that total value of transactions at the FX spot market dipped by 4.28% to $458.63 million, while the FX derivatives market turnover was also down by 14.24% to $130.57 million. Similarly, the Naira depreciated by 0.1% to 416 Naira 40 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window of the Forex market, in contrast to 415 Naira 99 kobo recorded last week. At the domestic equities market, the 5-week bullish run came to a halt this week as investors took profits off dividend-paying stocks. The local bourse recorded losses in 3 of the 5 trading sessions of the week, following profit-taking in the shares of Okumo Oil, Boa Foods, GTCO, Saplat and MTN Nigeria. Consequently, the all-share index shared 0.2% week-on-week. Activity levels were mixed as volume traded declined by 25.4% week-on-week, while value traded rose by 15.4%. Performance across sectors was broadly positive as all key indexes closed in the green. Now Score Nigeria topped the gainers chart for the week, while Farmadeco PLC led the laggards. The trio of Access Bank, GTCO and Fidelity Bank contributed 23.8% and 19.1% to the total equity turnover volume and value in the week. And that's business news tonight. It's back to Kayode for the rest of the news at 10.
Well, thanks a lot, Tenny. On the foreign scene, more than a dozen countries have urged their citizens to leave Ukraine amid warnings from Western leaders that an invasion by Russia could be imminent. The US, UK, Germany and Canada are among those who have urged their nationals to leave the country immediately. Moscow has amassed an estimated 100,000 troops along Ukraine's border, but denies any intent to invade. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken believes Russian President Vladimir Putin has the capacity to act on very short notice, and an invasion could happen at any time.
We continue to see very troubling signs of Russian escalation, including new forces arriving around Ukraine's borders. As I said yesterday, we're in the window when a Russian invasion can start at any time if President Putin so decides. That includes in the coming days. We don't know whether President Putin has made that decision, but we do know that he has put in place the capacity to act on very short notice. Russia is genuinely interested in resolving this crisis of its own making through diplomacy and dialogue. We're prepared to do that. In fact, that's our preferred path. It's the right and responsible thing to do. But it must take place in the context of de-escalation. So far, we've only seen escalation from Moscow. This is a pivotal moment. We're prepared for whatever should happen.
The police have started to clear a blockade of the main crossing between Canada and the United States after days of protests by truckers against COVID-19 rules at the Ambassador Bridge in Ontario on Friday. A judge granted an injunction to end the occupation while the province of Ontario declared an emergency. Officials have threatened heavy penalties against those who interfere with the free flow of goods and people. Let's now join Ayotide Balogun for the latest sports stories.
Many thanks, Kaide. East African runners have showed class as they dominated the 7th edition of the Lagos City Marathon, with Ethiopian Deresa Galata emerged champion of the 42-kilometer race to claim the golden prize of $30,000. Over 1,000 athletes featured in the competition that stretched from the National Stadium in Surulere to the Eko Atlantic City.
The 2022 edition of the Lagos City Marathon witnesses an increase in the number of participants in the 42-kilometer race and return of the 10-kilometer category after it was suspended in 2021 owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. As the race progresses, the East Africans pull away from the rest of the field, with Ethiopian Deresa Galata, Kenyans David Bamasai and Emmanuel Naibe leading the pack. Galata displays unusual strength and stamina as he upstages 2020 champion Bamasai and 2021 champion Naibe to win the race with a time of 2 hours, 11 minutes and 54 seconds. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu and the Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare feature in the competition.
Lagos will become the place to be. If you're an athlete, if you are, a sport enthusiast, Lagos will become the destination. And it opens up our economy, it opens up our people, and it opens up what sports can be done to us. But more importantly is to use sports, as a strong tool for us to continue to remain fit, remain healthy, have a good life, and be able to function very, very well. And sport for us as a government becomes one of our strongest rallying points for our youth, for our children in school, because sports knows no bound.
Stand up for the champion.
Galata claims the golden prize of $30,000 as the competition organizers target a gold label from the World Athletics and the Association of International Marathons and Distance Races in subsequent editions.
A senior advocate of Nigeria, Osaro Agobiame, has teamed up with the Nigeria Bar Association and the NBA to raise awareness on the state of justice delivery system in the country using the 2022 Lagos City Marathon. Mr. Agobiame, who completed the elite 42-kilometer race at the competition, says his passion for the reformation of the justice delivery system in Nigeria remains the major driving force behind this laudable cause.
When we run like this, what we are trying to do is we are trying to attract many more lawyers, non-lawyers, to participate in what it takes to change the administration of justice and to begin to change the orientation that we all have to do something. The blame game is too much, so this is a sacrifice. This was a grilling exercise to say, I will do this as my own contribution rather than accusing people. What you do, what you say, how you organize yourself is what determines whether or not you get the desired results. Indeed, many of us who are lawyers simply continue to pass the buck. We now need to get involved. We now need to get engaged.
It's not about recrimination.
It's about us recognizing and identifying the fact that those who are the receiving end of service in the justice sector system have lost confidence in the sector. The average man on the street is not confident that he will get justice in our courts. From the point of view of lack of efficiency of the system, from the point of view of the fact that the sector or the judiciary is not seen to be independent. And then, of course, we also have the issue of how our judges are even appointed and selected. The people are looking and people are not satisfied. And we are part of this system. If it's not working, we have failed. So our stake here is major.
In the NPFL, Rivers United have moved to the top of the table courtesy of a 3-0 win over Wiki Tourist in Port Harcourt. Austin Oladipo got on the score sheet as Aimba forced Niger Tornadoes to a 1-0 draw. Katsina United defeated Kwara United 1-0 courtesy of a second-half strike from Nafiu Ibrahim. And that sports news is back to you, Kaide.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. FCT Area Council elections held today as voters turned out to vote for candidates of their choice in the chairmanship and councillorship polls conducted by INEC across the 6 area councils. There were complaints over late commencement and poor performance of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS. And that's the news at 10 for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayodoki Hilu. Good night.